We are anonymous. We do not forget. We do not forgive. And tonight, we do not stay silent when the powerful believe their secrets are safe, their crimes buried, their networks protected by money, influence, and fear. What you are about to hear will shake the foundations of the entertainment industry, expose the hypocrisy of those who preach morality while practicing depravity, and reveal why certain names have fought desperately to remain hidden from public view. We have obtained information that the powerful never wanted you to see. A list. A guest list. The guest list from the infamous gatherings known as the Freak-Offs, hosted by none other than Sean Combs, the man the world knew as Diddy, Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, and Love. Names that once commanded respect, admiration, and envy. Names now synonymous with allegations of sex trafficking, racketeering, and systematic abuse spanning decades. The federal indictment unsealed in September 2024 painted a disturbing portrait of a man who allegedly used his empire to facilitate exploitation on an industrial scale. But the indictment was only the beginning. The guest list tells the rest of the story. And look who appears as number 45. The implications are staggering. The connections run deeper than anyone publicly acknowledged. And we are here to expose every layer, every name, every participant who thought anonymity would protect them forever. Tonight, the veil is lifted. Tonight, the truth emerges. Tonight, Anonymous reveals what the mainstream media refuses to touch. Let us start at the beginning, because to understand the magnitude of what we are exposing, you must first understand the empire that made these gatherings possible. Sean Combs did not become a billionaire by accident. He built Bad Boy Records into a cultural phenomenon, launching the careers of some of the most influential artists in hip-hop history. The Notorious B.I.G., Mary J. Blige, Faith Evans, Mace, 112, and countless others passed through his doors. He expanded into fashion with Sean John, into spirits with Ciroc Vodka, into media, into investments that made him one of the wealthiest figures in entertainment. Forbes estimated his net worth at over $1 billion at his peak. He moved freely among the elite, attending galas, political fundraisers, award shows, and private gatherings where the rules of normal society simply did not apply. The parties were legendary. Everyone in the industry knew about them. The white parties in the Hamptons became cultural touchstones, drawing celebrities, politicians, athletes, and executives from every corner of influence. What happened behind closed doors, however, remained protected by a code of silence that few dared to break. But the Freak-Offs were different. They were not the public spectacles designed for cameras and coverage. According to court documents and witness testimonies emerging from federal investigations, these were private gatherings, where the darkest behaviors allegedly took place. Prosecutors described them as elaborate productions involving victims, controlled substances, and activities documented on video for what authorities believe may have been leverage, insurance, or simply the pleasure of a man who allegedly believed himself untouchable. When federal agents raided Combs' properties in March 2024, they reportedly discovered more than 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant. They found recordings. They found evidence of a system designed to facilitate abuse on a scale that shocked even veteran investigators. The arrest came in September. The charges read like a criminal enterprise manual: racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, transportation to engage in prostitution. The indictment alleged that Combs and his associates recruited, harbored, transported, and provided victims for sexual purposes while using violence, coercion, and control to maintain their compliance. But here is what the indictment did not include: names. The names of the guests who attended these gatherings, the names of those who allegedly participated, observed, or benefited from access to the victims. The names that powerful attorneys, publicists, and fixers have worked tirelessly to suppress. We have been investigating this case since before the mainstream media acknowledged its existence. When Cassie Ventura filed her lawsuit in November 2023, the world received its first detailed glimpse into the allegations. She described years of abuse, control, coercion, and forced participation in activities she never consented to. The lawsuit mentioned other individuals, powerful men who allegedly participated in these encounters. The case settled within 24 hours. 24 hours. An amount reportedly near $30 million exchanged hands to silence one of the most damaging allegations against a major entertainment figure in decades. But settlement does not equal innocence, and silence does not erase truth. After Cassie came forward, others followed. The floodgates opened. Lawsuit after lawsuit emerged, each painting a consistent pattern of behavior spanning decades. Victims described being drugged, assaulted, recorded, and threatened. They described gatherings where the powerful mixed freely with those who had no power at all. They described being treated as commodities, passed between men whose names would shock the public if ever revealed. The federal investigation intensified. Grand juries convened. Witnesses testified under oath, protected by anonymity, but compelled to describe what they saw, what they experienced, and who was present. The guest lists from these gatherings became one of the most sought-after pieces of evidence in the investigation. Who attended? Who knew? Who participated? And who looked the other way while crimes allegedly occurred in plain sight? We obtained fragments of these lists, through sources we cannot name, through documents that were never meant to reach public eyes, through the same methods we have used for years to expose corruption wherever it hides. The names are organized by frequency of attendance, by level of participation, and by the nature of their involvement. Some attended once and never returned. Others became regulars, allegedly participating actively in the activities described by victims. And some, the most protected names, appear at the top of the list with notations suggesting they received special treatment, special access, and special protection. Now let us talk about the structure of these gatherings, because understanding the logistics reveals the sophistication of the operation. According to testimony and documents reviewed in our investigation, the freak-offs were not spontaneous events. They were carefully planned productions with guest lists curated weeks in advance. Invitations went out through private channels, never written, always verbal, always deniable. Attendance required trust, loyalty, and in some cases, leverage that ensured silence. The locations varied. Properties in Los Angeles, Miami, New York, and locations abroad provided venues for these gatherings. Staff were either loyal employees bound by non-disclosure agreements or individuals allegedly complicit in the activities. Security was tight, not to protect guests from external threats, but to prevent evidence from leaving the premises. Phones were collected at the door. Recording devices were prohibited unless controlled by Combs' team. The message was clear. What happens here stays here, or there will be consequences. Victims described being brought to these gatherings under various pretenses. Some believed they were attending industry parties where connections could advance their careers. Others were allegedly coerced through manipulation, drug dependency, or explicit threats. Once inside, the rules changed. The activities escalated, and those who resisted faced consequences ranging from professional destruction to physical violence. The recordings allegedly made at these gatherings served multiple purposes. Some were kept as personal collections. Others, according to witness statements, functioned as insurance policies. If a powerful guest ever considered speaking out, the existence of recordings showing their participation ensured their silence. It was a system of mutual destruction, a web of complicity that bound participants together through shared guilt. This is why the guest list matters so much. This is why names have been protected with such ferocity. And this is why what we reveal tonight threatens the entire structure of an industry built on exploitation, hidden behind glamour. The first major revelation from the guest list concerns the entertainment industry itself. Names that appear repeatedly include individuals who currently hold positions of significant power, executives who greenlight projects, managers who guide careers, producers who determine whose music gets heard, and artists whose public personas would be destroyed if their private activities became known. We have identified multiple Grammy winners, Academy Award nominees, and chart-topping performers whose names appear on various versions of the guest lists. Their attendance patterns suggest not casual presence, but active participation in the culture Combs allegedly created. Some of these individuals have issued public statements distancing themselves from Combs since his arrest. They express shock at the allegations. They claim they knew nothing about illegal activities. They position themselves as victims of association rather than participants in crimes. The guest lists tell a different story. One name that appears with disturbing frequency is a producer who has shaped the sound of popular music for the past 2 decades. His work has earned him numerous accolades and made him one of the most sought-after collaborators in the industry. According to documents we reviewed, he attended multiple freak-off gatherings between 2010 and 2022. His level of participation is documented in witness statements that describe active involvement in activities that victims characterize as assaults. This individual has not been publicly named in any lawsuit. He has not been charged with any crime. He continues to work freely in an industry that protects its own, but we know his name. And in time, so will you. Another category of attendees includes athletes whose celebrity status provided additional allure to the gatherings. Professional basketball players, football stars, and Olympic champions appear on various lists. Some attended once, photographed at white parties that served as cover for more private activities. Others allegedly attended the inner gatherings where the real activities took place. Their presence provided validation, credibility, and the illusion that what occurred was simply the behavior of the rich and famous, not the criminal enterprise prosecutors now describe. But the revelation that will shake foundations involves the presence of political figures on these lists. We did not expect to find what we found. We did not anticipate the depth of the connections between Combs' world and the corridors of political power. But the evidence is undeniable, and we are prepared to expose it regardless of consequence. Multiple sources have confirmed the presence of elected officials at Combs-hosted gatherings. Some attended public events, the fundraisers and galas that Combs organized for political causes. These attendances are documented in photographs, press coverage, and campaign finance records. They prove nothing beyond the normal networking that occurs between wealthy donors and politicians. But other sources describe attendance at private gatherings that occurred after the public events concluded. These after-parties, often held at Combs' residences, allegedly featured activities that would end political careers if ever documented. One former staffer described being present when a sitting senator arrived at a Miami property in the early hours of the morning. The staffer did not witness illegal activity directly, but described an atmosphere of excess that suggested the boundaries of legal behavior were being tested. Another source described a governor whose attendance at multiple gatherings between 2008 and 2015 made them a regular in Combs' inner circle. This individual has since left office but remains active in political consulting and media commentary. Their public statements about Combs since the arrest have been notably muted, avoiding the condemnation that others have offered. But the name that appears as number 45 on one version of the guest list we obtained is the most explosive revelation of all. The numbering system used in the document appears to organize attendees by a combination of influence and frequency, with lower numbers indicating higher priority or more frequent attendance. Number 45 is not a minor figure. Number 45 is someone whose presence at these gatherings, if confirmed, would reshape public understanding of multiple eras in American life. We must be careful here because the implications are severe. The document we obtained uses initials and code names rather than full identifications. This was standard practice in Combs' operation, a layer of protection against exactly the kind of exposure we are now providing. But cross-referencing with other evidence, with timing, with location data, with witness statements, allows a pattern to emerge. Number 45 attended gatherings in New York and Florida between 2005 and 2015. The locations correspond to properties Combs owned or rented during those years. The timing corresponds to periods when number 45 was publicly associated with Combs through various business and social connections. Photographs from that era show them together at public events. They shared mutual acquaintances in real estate, media, and entertainment. Their relationship was not secret. It was celebrated. They appeared together on television. They praised each other publicly. They moved in the same circles of wealth and influence that defined New York's elite during those years. The question the guest list raises is whether that public relationship extended into the private gatherings where prosecutors allege crimes occurred. We cannot state definitively what number 45 witnessed or participated in. The code name system prevents direct identification, and the witnesses who might provide clarity are either bound by legal restrictions or afraid to speak. But the pattern is suggestive. The timing is suspicious, and the ferocity with which certain parties have sought to suppress this information tells its own story. When powerful people fight this hard to hide something, it usually means what they are hiding is exactly what the public fears it might be. The connections between Combs and number 45 extend beyond social gatherings. Business relationships link them through various ventures over the years. Real estate deals, brand partnerships, and mutual investments created financial ties that went beyond casual acquaintance. One source described meetings at properties in Florida where discussions combined business with pleasure in ways that blurred the lines between legitimate commerce and the activities now under federal investigation. The modeling industry, which has been implicated in multiple allegations against Combs, also provides connections. Sources describe parties where aspiring models were present, promised opportunities in exchange for attendance at gatherings where powerful men would assess their potential. This assessment allegedly went far beyond professional consideration. The same modeling world connections appear in other investigations that have surfaced over the years, suggesting a network of exploitation that extended across multiple industries and multiple perpetrators. Number 45's known associations with this world raise questions that remain unanswered. The timing of these connections is also notable. Many of the gatherings in question occurred during years when number 45 was building a public persona that would later be leveraged for different purposes. The relationships formed during this era provided connections that extended into media, entertainment, and politics. Who you know matters, and who you party with matters even more. The debts accumulated in the world of excess have a way of coming due when least expected. As investigators continue their work, the pressure to identify all participants in Combs' alleged enterprise has intensified. Federal prosecutors have signaled their intention to pursue charges against co-conspirators, not just Combs himself. Cooperation agreements with witnesses have reportedly produced extensive testimony about who attended, who participated, and who facilitated the activities now under investigation. Legal experts we consulted suggest that the guest lists, if authenticated, would provide roadmaps for additional indictments. Each name on the list represents a potential witness, a potential defendant, or a potential source of information about others further up the chain. The question is whether prosecutors will follow the evidence wherever it leads, or whether certain names will remain protected by the same forces that allowed this enterprise to operate for decades without consequence. The pattern of protection is already visible. Despite the volume of allegations, despite the witness statements, despite the documentary evidence, the vast majority of those named in civil suits have escaped criminal charges. Settlements have silenced victims. Non-disclosure agreements have muzzled witnesses. The legal system, designed to pursue justice, has instead facilitated the suppression of truth. This is why Anonymous exists. This is why we investigate when others accept official narratives. This is why we expose when others remain silent. The powerful have lawyers. The victims have courage. And we have the determination to ensure that courage is not wasted. The response to revelations about the guest list has followed a predictable pattern. Denials have been issued through representatives. Threats of legal action have been communicated to media outlets considering coverage. Social media posts suggesting involvement have been removed through platform pressure and legal demands. The machinery of suppression is well-oiled and efficient, the product of decades of practice protecting the powerful from accountability. But suppression only delays the inevitable. The truth has a way of emerging despite every effort to contain it. Witnesses who once feared speaking out have found courage in numbers. Each new revelation reduces the power of threats because the threats depend on isolation. When everyone knows, no one can be singled out for punishment. The federal case against Combs proceeds toward trial. Prosecutors have indicated they possess thousands of hours of recorded material, millions of pages of documents, and testimony from dozens of witnesses. The defense has filed motions seeking to suppress evidence and limit testimony, standard tactics that suggest awareness of how damaging the full record might be. Legal experts predict the trial will reveal information that current investigations have only suggested. Names that have remained hidden may emerge through testimony. Connections that have been denied may be proven through documentation, and the full scope of what occurred at these gatherings may finally become public record. We have watched this case develop with particular attention because it represents something larger than one man's alleged crimes. It represents a system, a network, an industry-wide culture of exploitation protected by wealth, fame, and mutual complicity. Combs did not operate alone. The gatherings did not occur in isolation. The victims were not chosen randomly. Everything was connected, organized, and protected by agreements that ensured silence at every level. Breaking this system requires more than one prosecution. It requires exposure of everyone who participated, everyone who facilitated, and everyone who looked the other way while crimes allegedly occurred. The guest list is not just evidence. It is a map of complicity, and we are determined to ensure that map becomes public knowledge, regardless of who it implicates. The coming months will bring additional revelations. Additional lawsuits will be filed as statutes of limitations in various jurisdictions create windows for victims to seek justice. Additional witnesses will come forward as the cost of silence exceeds the cost of speaking, and additional names will emerge as the layers of protection are stripped away one by one. We will be here to document each revelation. We will be here to connect each piece of evidence to the larger pattern, and we will be here to ensure that no name, no matter how powerful, remains hidden from accountability. The implications of what we have revealed tonight extend far beyond entertainment industry scandal. They speak to fundamental questions about power, accountability, and the systems that protect the wealthy from consequences that ordinary people face every day. When a person without resources commits a crime, justice is swift and certain. When a billionaire commits crimes, decades may pass before the first charges are filed. This disparity is not accidental. It is designed into a legal system that treats wealth as virtue and poverty as guilt. The Combs case offers an opportunity to challenge this disparity, but only if prosecutors pursue every lead, every name, every connection that the evidence reveals. Whether they will do so remains uncertain. The pressures against full prosecution are immense. The individuals potentially implicated have resources to fight back, connections to influence investigations, and incentives to ensure certain evidence never reaches public view. We have seen this pattern before. We have watched investigations stall, evidence disappear, and witnesses recant under pressure. We have watched prosecutors decline to pursue charges against the powerful while aggressively prosecuting those without protection. We have watched the system function exactly as designed, protecting those at the top while crushing those at the bottom. But we have also seen the pattern break. We have seen cases where public pressure made protection impossible, where evidence became too overwhelming to suppress, where the determination of victims exceeded the power of perpetrators. The Combs case has the potential to be one of those moments, a turning point where accountability extends beyond the convenient scapegoat to encompass the entire network that enabled abuse. For that potential to be realized, the public must remain engaged. The media must continue investigating despite legal threats. Witnesses must continue speaking despite fear of retaliation. And organizations like ours must continue exposing what the powerful want hidden. The guest list we have discussed tonight represents one piece of a much larger puzzle. Other documents exist. Other witnesses have stories to tell. Other evidence awaits discovery by investigators with the courage to pursue it. We call on anyone with information about these gatherings to come forward. Your identity will be protected. Your information will be verified. And your contribution to exposing the truth will not be forgotten. To those whose names appear on the guest list, know this. The protection you relied upon is failing. The silence you purchased is breaking. The network that shielded you is collapsing. The question is not whether the truth will emerge, but when. Those who come forward voluntarily, who cooperate with investigations, who acknowledge their participation and seek to make amends, may find pathways to redemption. Those who continue to deny, to suppress, to threaten, will find that denial only delays the inevitable while ensuring the eventual exposure is more damaging than honest acknowledgement would have been. We have seen powerful figures attempt to outlast investigations, trusting that time will protect them from accountability. Sometimes this strategy succeeds. But the Combs case has generated momentum that shows no signs of diminishing. New victims continue to emerge. New evidence continues to surface. New witnesses continue to cooperate with authorities. The strategy of waiting is a gamble, and the odds are shifting against those who choose it. Number 45. Wherever you are, whatever you witnessed, whatever you participated in, understand that the records exist, the witnesses remember, and the determination to expose the full truth has never been stronger. Your presence at those gatherings was documented by a system designed to create leverage over the powerful. That same system is now providing evidence to investigators pursuing accountability. The leverage has shifted, the power has changed hands, and the truth is coming. We are anonymous. We do not forget the victims whose stories were silenced for decades. We do not forgive the systems that protected predators while punishing those who spoke out. We do not accept the version of reality manufactured by publicists and attorneys. We seek truth. We expose corruption. We ensure that no amount of wealth or influence provides permanent immunity from justice. Tonight, we have revealed connections that powerful forces wanted hidden. Tomorrow, we will continue our investigation. The day after, new revelations will emerge. This process will continue until every name is known, every participant is exposed, and every victim receives acknowledgement of what they endured. Share this message. Spread the truth. Let those who attended these gatherings know that silence is no longer an option. Let those who protected predators know that protection has consequences. Let those who covered up crimes know that cover-ups eventually fail. We are anonymous. We are everywhere. We see what you try to hide. We remember what you want forgotten. Expect us